If you're new to our channel, we'd love to have you join our little community. Just hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. We promise it will be worth your while.
It felt so nice to be a girl. Everything felt so silky. My panties, petticoat, and even my socks felt silky on my feet. I just had to convince Mommy and Daddy to let me be a girl after this month was over. I couldn't imagine going back to wearing dull, scratchy boys' clothes ever again. I'd promised to be a good girl. They'd never have to worry about me being a tomboy. I'd let Mommy buy me pretty dresses and lingerie. I'd let my hair grow long and brush it to keep it shiny and pretty. And when I grew up, I'd be a lady, just like Mommy. Mommy sprayed some cologne on me to make me smell nice. And after giving her a kiss, I skipped to the living room to show off my new dress for Daddy. "You look beautiful, Elizabeth," Daddy whistled as he shook his head. "How come you called me Elizabeth instead of Libby?" I asked. My parents usually only called me Edward when they were mad at me. "Are you mad at me? Don't you want me to be a girl?" Daddy quickly swept me into his arms and held me tight. "I'm not mad at you, sweetheart. I only called you Elizabeth because you look like a beautiful young lady instead of just a little girl. Your mom thought being a girl for Halloween would be something different. Things sort of snowballed from there. I don't mind you being a girl if it's okay with you. Mommy and I want you to be happy, though." I climbed onto his lap, fixed my skirt and petticoat just like Mommy had taught me to, and threw my arms around his neck. "I'm happy, Daddy. Really, I am. I love my pretty new clothes, and I promise to be a very good girl for you and Mommy." It was the first time I ever saw my father cry. Daddy was so impressed with me that he insisted on taking Mommy and I to dinner so he could show us off. Mommy pulled me along to her room, saying that we had to hurry and get ready for our date with Daddy. But I'm already dressed, Mommy. I was protesting more to avoid being dragged into her room where she'd be changing clothes. I wasn't feeling like enough of a girl to see my mom dressing just yet. "Libby, a woman is never already dressed for an important date with such a handsome man," she told me as she pulled me into her room. "We have important decisions to make. What dress to wear? Do we want heels or not? Stockings or pantyhose? How should we do our hair? And just scads of other things." I realized that Mommy was opening up a whole new world to me. She was taking me by my hand and leading me to girlhood. If I was ever going to become a real girl, I should know all of this stuff. I smiled sweetly and watched as she stripped off her clothes. "First, we'll have to shower. A hot bubble bath would be great, but we don't have time for that. Now, the bra and panties I have on are made of cotton. They're just fine for everyday things like our shopping trip, but for a big date with a wonderful guy like your daddy, I want to feel extra pretty and feminine, so I'll wear this satin bra and panty set with a matching slip." To my surprise, she stripped off her bra and panties and began undressing me. I was thrilled that she was willing to treat me as if I was a real girl. I ended up taking a shower with Mom and listening to her explain some of the mysteries of being a woman. When we were done, we were nice and clean, smelled like a bouquet of flowers, and I knew there was so much more to being a girl than I ever imagined. Mommy powdered me all over with a nice smelling powder puff, then we both started to dress again. I pulled on my own panties, camisole, petticoat, and socks, and then watched as Mommy put on her matching panties, bra, and slip. "What's that, Mommy?" I asked as she fastened something that looked like bottomless panties with straps around her waist. "It's called a garter belt, honey." She smiled as she carefully rolled up what seemed like pantyhose with the pantyhose with the panty and clipped them to it. When ladies want to feel extra special, we wear stockings and attach them to the garter belt to hold them up. Mommy let me feel how silky the stockings felt. "Can I wear stockings too, Mommy?" I asked hopefully. "Sorry, honey. Stockings and garter belts are not for little girls. When you're a teenager, I'll buy you your very first garter belt and stockings. You'll love the way they make you feel so sexy and feminine." She realized what she had said and quickly apologized. I wish I could have told her that I couldn't wait for that day to come. "Even though you're still a little girl, it's important to feel feminine," Mommy told me as she buttoned up my dress. "Wearing pretty clothes and lingerie helps women feel that way. Men love to be around feminine women. It makes them feel very strong, which is important to a man. Anything that makes Daddy feel good is very important to me since I love him so much." "Is feminine what I'm feeling, Mommy?" I asked as I ran my hands over my skirt. I felt all funny inside when I first saw this dress in the store. I felt it a little bit when I first got dressed up as Libby, and it feels really, really good to be all dressed up. "That sounds like you feel very feminine, Libby dear," Mommy told me as I zipped up her dress. "You're going to have a wonderful time as a girl if you don't mind feeling that way." "I don't mind, Mommy. I confessed. I thought that maybe I would, but now I think that being a girl will be lots and lots of fun." "We're ready for our big date, Daddy," I called out as I came skipping into the room. "You look very handsome." Daddy grabbed me and swung me around, causing my skirt to flare out. "Put me down, Daddy. You're going to mess up my dress, and then we'll have to wait while I find another one to wear," I scolded. "How did you do it?" he asked Mom after quickly setting me back on my feet. "You turned my beautiful princess into a wife." "You're silly, Daddy," I laughed. "I'm not a wife. I just don't want to miss dinner with the handsome man Mommy's been talking about." "You certainly are a real charmer," Daddy laughed. "And just what has Mommy been saying about this handsome man?" "Well, she said that he's the most handsome man she's ever met. He's very sweet, and that she's madly in love with him." "I'll have to take you ladies out more often," he teased. "You smell very nice, Elizabeth. May I call you that, since you are such a beautiful lady?" I couldn't keep from blushing over his compliments. "Thank you." Mommy and I took our shower, and she put some yummy-smelling powder on me. "You took a shower? With Mommy?" he asked, surprised. "Why not?" Mommy asked. She had to get ready too, and we didn't have time for a bubble bath. That seemed to settle the question. Mommy seemed to be telling Daddy that she planned to consider me to be her daughter, and we were going to do things together as two females. If this kept up, it would be easy to stay as a girl forever. Mommy and I took our purses and waited for Daddy to open the door for us. Being a girl was so nice. Everyone did stare as we walked to our seats, but unfortunately, no one stopped talking or seemed awed by us. Daddy held Mommy's chair and the waiter held mine for me. I set my little purse on the table just like Mom, smiled at the nice waiter, and sat down like a perfect little lady. Mom caught my eye and smiled, pleased that I was acting so nicely. Mommy told Daddy what to order for her, then motioned for me to do the same. "Ladies let the gentlemen order for them," she winked. "Men like to think that they're in charge." "Do you have to tell her stuff like that?" Daddy laughed. "I was hoping that my princess would be spared all of that nonsense." "Your princess needs to know how to wrap a man around her little finger." Mommy laughed. "I have to teach her all of the secrets that mothers have been passing down to their daughters for generations. All a princess as lovely as Elizabeth needs to do is smile." He shook his head. "Men will hurry to wrap themselves around her little finger." Dinner was beyond belief. The food was delicious, but being treated as a young woman by Daddy was even more delicious. I loved each and every one of his many compliments about what a beautiful and charming young lady I was. One day as a girl, and I knew that I never wanted to be a boy again. Later that night, Mommy let me experience something every girl loves, a hot bubble bath. She filled my bathtub up with hot water that was just loaded with bubbles and smiled knowingly as I sank into one of the most wonderfully feminine experiences ever. As I soaked, she sat nearby and continued teaching me the things she felt I needed to know to be a girl. I couldn't wear party dresses every day, no matter how much I wanted to. There may be times when it would just make sense to wear pants, but that didn't mean that I'd be any less of a girl. A girl had so many choices when she chose outfits that just weren't available to boys. For example, you may need to wear pants, even jeans for some reason when you'd rather wear a pretty dress. You could choose a pair of pants that are a pretty color or have some nice decoration on them. You can also wear a pretty top with them. I get it. I squealed in delight. I could even wear an extra pretty pair of panties that would make me feel nice even in pants. Good girl, Libby. She smiled. Now, what's better, a quick shower or a bubble bath? A bubble bath is way better, I shouted as I threw bubbles into the air. Very good, Libby. Now enjoy your bath, and don't forget that Daddy and I want goodnight kisses before you go to sleep. I shook my head vigorously. I promise not to forget. Mommy kissed my head and started to leave. Thank you, Mommy, I called out to her. Thank you for letting me be a girl. We were both crying as she rushed to hug me. Thank you for making me so happy, Elizabeth. I never thought I'd have such a wonderful daughter. I was getting to like being called Elizabeth. Mommy taught me all kinds of fun things like how to take care of baby dolls, how to pick outfits for my Barbie dolls, and even how to apply nail polish. I wanted to learn how to use makeup, but Mommy would only buy me a toy makeup set. She said, I'm too young to use real makeup. I can't wait until I'm old enough. Time seemed to be passing faster than ever before, but I was having so much fun that it didn't seem to matter to me. 5 days a week, I went to school as an 11-year-old boy named Eddie, but every evening and weekend Eddie went away and Libby came out. I'd rush home from school and take a nice hot bubble bath, put on some pretty clothes and start doing my homework. Mommy and Daddy said that unless I had my homework done, I wasn't allowed to play with my dolls, so I made sure that everything was done and neatly set out for them to inspect. As soon as Mommy checked my homework, I would rush to my room and bring out my baby dolls. By the time Daddy came home from work, I had my homework finished. My baby dolls were wearing pretty outfits, and we were waiting to greet him. He never got more than 2 steps into the house before I rushed over and smothered him with kisses. I was a big-time daddy's girl. Halloween was only a week away when Mommy asked which outfit I wanted to wear to Daddy's party. I'd like to wear my yellow party dress, I answered without waiting, but it's kind of cold, so maybe I could wear that yellow velvet dress with my white tights and my green shoes that have a little heel. The party will be inside, so why not go ahead and wear your yellow dress to the party and save the warmer one for trick or treating? Mommy suggested, it will be nice and bright at the party and everyone will be able to see how pretty you look. I thought about it for all of 2 seconds before hugging her and telling her how much I loved her. My velvet dress was pretty, but if I was supposed to be a little girl for Halloween, nothing would make me look better than a little girl's party dress. No one at school even bothered to ask me what I was going to be for Halloween. I guess that was good since I didn't want to spoil the surprise, but it still hurt me that I was practically invisible to the other kids. I still watched the girls for tips on how to dress and act, but I had to fight the urge to rush over to the 3rd grade girls at lunch or recess and ask if I could jump rope with them or talk about my Barbie dolls. I hoped that someday I'd be one of the girls in a cute uniform skirt, jumping rope, or giggling about a cute boy in our class. Halloween would be on a Wednesday, and Daddy's part was due on the Saturday before. That was a very good thing because I wanted to be able to take a nice bubble bath, and since Mommy had promised to let me wear nail polish, my nails would need time to dry, so I didn't mess up my pretty dress. I was very worried about Daddy's party. I wanted people to tell me how pretty I looked, but what if they laughed at me? Daddy told me that some kids might laugh, but that I shouldn't worry too much. After all, it was all in fun for Halloween. Mommy was going to the party as Raggedy Ann and Daddy, of course, was Raggedy Andy. They looked so cute in their costumes. I hoped they'd win some sort of prize. As long as I don't get laughed at or teased too much, I don't care if I win. My prize will be when Mommy and Daddy agree to let Libby stick around. It's been a month. I'll never forget. I never in my wildest dreams thought that I'd not only be allowed to dress up like a little girl, but Mommy and Daddy would treat me like the girl I hoped to become. I don't know how I'll be able to stand it if they say that I have to go back to being Eddie again. Even dressing up like I used to won't help me. I've had a chance to be a girl, and I know I'll never be happy again as a boy. The big moment finally arrived. I got almost completely dressed by myself. Mom still had to button a few buttons I couldn't reach, tie my sash, and help with my wig, but it felt good to have her help. It may be the last time she'll be able to. Once my buttons were done and my sash tied into a pretty bow, I was ready. Mommy and I took our coats and purses. I took a deep breath and we were off to the party. I got tons of compliments from many of the women at the party, who first thought that I was just a little girl in a pretty dress. They'd ask me my name and I'd proudly tell them that it was Elizabeth Marie Martin, but my nickname was Libby. They all thought it was so cute that I'd answer like that. Later, after I won first prize for best costume, they came back to tell Mommy and Daddy how amazed they were that I was really a boy. A bunch of them blurted out that I was too pretty to be a boy, but quickly apologized. They probably thought they'd hurt my feelings. Maybe they didn't notice how much I smiled when I heard them. Winning first prize at the party got me $25, but the compliments were worth tons more than the money. I was walking on air as I waited to go trick or treating. Mommy had decided to fix me up as a princess in a pretty first communion dress she'd picked out for me. She showed me a rhinestone-covered tiara, white pantyhose, little girl pumps with a low heel, and the prettiest white panties, camisole, and petticoat a girl could ever want. For that one night, my last stand as Elizabeth Marie Martin, I would even be allowed to wear a touch of makeup. I rushed home on Halloween and spent an hour taking a hot bubble bath, then wearing my girl's rule nightgown and matching panties under a fluffy pink robe. I ate dinner so that I wouldn't be tempted to eat any candy before Mommy and Daddy could check it for me. As soon as I finished dinner and helped Mommy with the dishes, we went to my room to get me ready to become Princess Libby. My panties were nice and silky and had rows of pretty lace ruffles on the backside. The outer layer of my petticoat was all lace, and my camisole was silky instead of the usual cotton and had lace straps. It was the prettiest lingerie I've ever worn, and when Mommy showed me my dress, I almost cried. It had a full skirt, which is why I wore a petticoat. Short sleeves that were sheer and puffed out, and the chest part had little pearls sewn into it. I knew that once I had that dress on, I'd never want to take it off again, even if I had to wear it to school. I wanted everyone to see how pretty I was, and then they'd know that I should have always been a girl. Why am I a princess? I asked as Mommy helped button my dress. What was wrong with my velvet dress? Nothing was wrong with it, Libby, she said as she adjusted my skirt to cover my petticoat. I saw this dress and thought that since it's not that cold, you might want to be a princess instead. I twirled a little to see how well it looked. It's so pretty, Mommy. Thank you for buying it for me. Mommy gave me a kiss. You did Daddy and me such a big favor that we wanted you to have something to remember from this last month. Turning you into a princess is our way of saying thanks. I didn't mind, Mommy. Really, I didn't. It was a lot of fun being a little girl. I wanted to tell her that if she really loved me, she'd let me be a girl forever, but somehow I couldn't bring myself to say it. Mommy fixed my wig and put a little lipstick and eye shadow on me, then she told me to close my eyes. I felt something going around my neck, and then something pinching my ears. When she told me to open my eyes, I was wearing a pretty necklace and earrings. Mommy, You're letting me wear earrings and a necklace. I'll be the prettiest girl out trick-or-treating tonight. No matter what, you'd still be the prettiest girl. I heard Daddy say as he walked into the room. It's a good thing you're not older. I might just run off with you. You'd miss Mommy too much, I told him. She's the nicest lady in the whole world. Then I guess you must be the second nicest. Daddy nodded. Thanks for doing this. I know it must have been tough, but it helped more than you can imagine. Mommy shooed him out of the room before we both started crying. After all this, I didn't want to miss my last chance to be Libby. I had to come back home, twice to drop off all the candy I got. Every time a woman was handing out candy, she'd give me an extra piece since I looked so pretty. Only a few people ever asked who I was, and it took a lot of convincing before they believed me. I finished the night with more candy than I ever got before and posed for a couple of dozen pictures before I took my last bubble bath and slept in my Barbie nightgown for the last time. The next morning, it was back to school as Eddie, a short, confused boy. A couple of kids mentioned that they'd heard about my costume, and some girls mentioned that they'd seen me and were amazed at how pretty I looked. I told them that it was all my mom's idea and that I thought it was silly, but they insisted that I had made a very pretty little girl. One girl even said that she thought I'd made a better girl than I did a boy. She apologized but said that she wasn't trying to be mean or anything. She just thought that I was very sweet and gentle. There was something about me, she told me, that made her think that I'd make a great girlfriend. I seemed to her like the kind of person she could go to if she was upset and I'd understand. I smiled and told her that I wasn't upset. I knew she meant what she'd said as a compliment, and that's how I take it. When I got home, there were no pretty outfits in my closet. My boys' clothes had all been put back on their hangers and in my drawers. The stuff I'd brought home and hidden was still where I'd put it, but I couldn't change into them unless I had the house to myself. I locked my door, laid down on my bed, and cried. Mom and Dad. I didn't feel right calling them Mommy and Daddy if I wasn't Libby. Acted as though the last month had never happened. I was Eddie and no mention was made of Libby. Dad seemed to miss having his daughter rush up to greet him when he got home at night, and Mom would sometimes start to call me Libby, but stop and quickly switch to Eddie. Nothing felt right at home. All of the warmth I felt from the past month had disappeared, and I felt so sad. Christmas came and went. I got clothes, a PCA, and some hot games for my PlayStation, but it didn't help. What I wanted more than anything else was to be Libby again, to have Mommy and Daddy tell me how pretty I was and how happy I made them. If I had gotten even one dress for Christmas, my parents could have forgotten the sea and everything else they had bought for me. I was able to dress up a couple of times when no one was home, but it wasn't as much fun anymore. Sneaking over to my parents' room to look in the mirror wasn't necessary anymore. I still had a full-length mirror on my closet door from when I was Libby. I'd dress up and stare at myself, but instead of twirling and giggling like I used to do, I ended up crying.